Alright folks, welcome back to another Magic the Gathering video, and in this video I really wanted to just cover some of the things that really frustrate me with the MTGO platform and how to get around them, namely around deck building and wishlist, which are two of the most important things if you're trying to do constructed in this game. And if you're new to MTGO, it's pretty clunky, so hopefully this video can really help you use the deck building and the wish lists. So if you're new to it completely online or just new to MTG in general, you've got two clients you can play online with. You've got the MTGO client, which I'm playing here, and you've also got the newer MTG Arena client, which I don't tend to play on. It's really good and I think it's great for new players, but it is a little bit limited. Whereas the original MTGO platform here is basically the card game, but online. Now, the client is way worse, it's much clunkier, it's super slow, it's actually a terrible client, but it is just the card game online, which is what I want to play, and it's got good tournaments and much more competitive. But the arena is very good as well, and it seems like more people play that now because it's just flashier and it looks more like Hearthstone, so I do get it. But anyway, the MTGO client, if this is the thing you want to play on, because you do actually have access to all the card types, all the formats on here. There's a couple of things you need to know about deck building if you're looking to play constructed specifically. So the number one is you can save your decks into your decks and binders tab right down here. This is on the collection tab, by the way, at the top. Now what I've done here is I've actually just created a new deck in here, but I don't have any of the cards yet. So I've just started this MTGO account, a brand new one, and I've obviously just collected a bunch of standard cards just now, but I want to build a Pauper deck because Pauper is one of my favourite constructed formats. So you can go down to here, click Pauper, and it will give me all the cards that are available for Pauper. Now that is just common cards. So all these cards right now are standard common cards effectively, but they're legal in Pauper. Now what I do want though is I've actually just uploaded a deck here. So this deck has 60 cards in it, 15 sideboard cards. Now I've added all these by just searching for them and adding them, and you can see any of these sort of black and yellow outlines means I do not have the card, or if you hover over it, it will say this card is not in your collection. Now the way I got these into my collection is by searching them, but this is one of the things that's quite clunky about the MTGO client. So it says up here you can search for text on cards. So let's take the, oh I don't know, an easy one here, the Akron Skyguard. So Akroan, type it in here, Akroan Sky, you'll probably just need to type that in and it'll come up. So nothing comes up. Why is this? The first thing you need to do if you're searching for cards on this ridiculously clunky format is you need to go to the quantity, keep collectible ticked, and move the slider from 1 to 0. And if you move the slider from 1 to 0, it will give you access to every single card in the whole of Magic. Which means when I take this filter off, it's going to take a little while to load, especially on a slower computer. I've got a bit of a beast right now, so that definitely helps. But I've already put 4 in. I've got the full deck saved here already, so I don't need to put another 4 in. Let's just search for another one just to show you. We'll have a look at, let's have a look at Gut Shot. So it's a different one, so Gut Shot. There we go. And one thing that's also worth noting when you're building a deck list out of this, you have different versions of them. So this was actually an uncommon back in the day and it's now a common, but yeah, certain versions will be more expensive than others. So if your budget is something you need to keep in mind, you can always search for the ones that are going to be cheaper. Generally it's going to be the non-foils which will be cheaper, most definitely. So after you add all your cards that you need for the deck into here and all the cards that you need for the deck into the main deck, you can transfer things to the wish list. Now after I show you this wish list thing, it's worth noting as well that I'm going to explain after showing you this my favourite ways to get access to deck lists that other really good players are using, the common decks that are getting used in the meta just now. So although I've already saved this deck to here, a lot of these decks, if you're not schooled up in Magic, it's really useful to actually search them online, and it'll give you a good idea of what the meta is and what you need to build against it. So what I would do in here is you've got your 60 card deck, you've got your 15 card sideboard, everything in here. I think I own potentially like 3 of these cards because this is a brand new account. By the looks of it, yes, Homestead Charge is like the only one I own. I've got 2 cards, that's it, everything else I need. So all you would do in this situation is right click and go down to add missing cards to wishlist, click it there, and if we go to our trade binder now, Wishlist will come up, and our wishlist is 73 cards all the way down. Now this makes life so much easier when you're trying to buy cards for constructed decks. Now again, something with MTGO you might not know if you're new to it, there's tons of really good solid card buying bots that you can buy off. You can go into the trade section and you can say well, here's just a bunch of random ones that show up, but this is like MTGO traders, card buying bot, all this kind of stuff. Certain bots will buy cards off you, certain bots will sell them. My favourite ones for buying cards off are things like GoatBot, MTGO Trader Bot. I'm sure there's tons and tons out there. People will have their favourites, but I quite like these ones. But say we were going to go into GoatBots here. That's been cancelled, so he's busy. Sometimes they've got like about 6 or 7 bots a lot of the time, so it's worth adding all of them. They're all going to be busy. Watch this. Wait, no, we've got someone that's open. Right, we get into the trade here. So, here's his collection. Let's narrow it down to pauper cards. There we go, pauper cards in here. Now, what we would normally do, every single time we go into a trade now, to get all those cards, we would have to like search for them, or use filters to get them, or type the card names in here. And if the price wasn't quite right, we'd have to go to another trader and do the same thing again, the same thing again. So to make life so much easier, we can actually import the wish list into here, and it will make life infinitely better. So to do this, all you do is click on this little search tools bar at the top. So search tools and select wish list. So select wish list, and the following cards from your wish list were not found. All of these certain things, so we know we're missing all these ones. So it might be a case of we just click this, and if this price is right, I mean we've got 10 tickets for all this, we can buy all of this. Because we own all these cards will now show up as bought in my wish list, which will cancel it, and then when I go to another trader I can find the rest of the cards that they might potentially have. Or if I really wanted to, I could just cancel this trade altogether, and let's just go and find another one and see if they have all the cards we need just to buy in one fell swoop. But it's definitely worth shopping around. If you get your wish list, it's really easy to just go in, hit your search tools, select wish list. Okay, he doesn't have much of the stuff. To be fair, this guy doesn't ever have a ton of it. Let's see if we can get the GoatBot, or let's go Cardboard Bot actually, they have stuff quite a lot. Right, search tools, select wish list. Yeah, there's definitely a few things they don't have, but you get the idea, guys. This is for Pauper. Pauper's not as easy a format to shop for, but if you put in a standard deck list for constructed into here, chances are all the sort of top guys will have all those cards. So it's just a case of going to them all, finding what the cheapest one is, and you can get yourself the best deal in record time. And yeah, and a lot of these guys actually have abilities to buy ticket tokens off their website, so you can actually buy credit, and then you can end up just actually spending real money to buy yourself one of these decks, rather than buying tickets off the MTGO store, which I 120,000,000% would say do not ever do that, because it's $1 to buy a ticket, but you get hammered with taxes. I don't know what it's like rest of the world, but in the UK anyway, you get absolutely hammered with tax on that. So if you buy like $40 worth of tickets, you're going to charge you like, it works out about $50 odd most of the time. So you do spend a hell of a lot of money that way. So I would definitely stick to buying bot credit off separate bot stores, and then you can even use that credit to buy tickets off the bots as well, which is pretty useful. Now the next thing I really wanted to cover is, where do you get a lot of these deck lists from? Now if you play Magic all the time, I've played Magic for like 20 odd years now, but I've actually taken a good couple of years off, a good few years off playing altogether, so I'm a little behind, especially on stuff like standard decks, because that's using the most current set list, so I don't actually know a lot of the cards in it. But when I was playing, you know, pretty regularly, I pretty much knew all the decks within like modern, standard, all this kind of stuff. So once you get to know all the decks, Magic's much more fun if you're able to just engineer decks to beat the current meta. Maybe using decks that are in existence, but just tweaking them a little bit. That's where the fun of Magic comes in for me. It's just trying to build your own deck. So I would highly recommend not just copying decks all the time, but actually trying to engineer already tested decks, or just build completely new decks to try against the meta. It's far more rewarding. But if you're just getting into it and you want to actually compete at a reasonable level, this is a great place to start, if anything, to just learn all the decks that people are playing. So you know what's coming up. If you're playing sort of like a burn deck, you're going to know what kind of cards could potentially be coming out if you know the decks well enough. But if you are starting out, like I say, it might be worth just going in and choosing a reasonably good deck that can compete at the reasonably high levels when you're starting out. So this is one way of doing it. This is actually on the official Magic website. So if you type in MTGO deck list into whatever search engine you use, and go down, you can search all of the recent tournaments that have been on. So as you can see, we've got Modern Preliminaries, Legacies, Paupers, Modern again, Standard. So let's say we're going for a Standard deck. Let's click on here. So this is a Standard challenge that was just on, and you can actually search down the guy that won it here in first place. His deck looks like a green-white deck, so you can look through all the cards was in it, and also the full sideboard. And then you can look at the second place, all of this, and then you get the idea. It basically shows you the full deck list of everyone that competed in that tournament, all the good ones, so you really know an up-to-date version of what kind of decks the top players, or just players in general, are using. So that is one version of doing it. Like you say, you can search everything, Modern as well. Modern decks will cost you a fortune, by the way, so if you're wanting to get into Magic, I'd probably avoid Modern to start with, and if you're wanting to do Constructed anyway, stick to something like Standard and Pauper, because it's much cheaper to get into. Pioneer is actually a brand new one to me, because in the time that I've not been playing Magic, that's actually just come out, so that's quite interesting. I'd like to get into the results on these ones. Now the other version of doing this, like I said, is Mtgdex Net, which is a great website. I've used this before I stopped playing for a little while, and I'm definitely going to use it now. So here you can actually search all the different constructed formats. Let's go again to Standard, and the great thing about this is it will tell you all the decks that are used within Standard, but it will give you the popularity as well. So the most used deck right now in the meta at 3.05% is Jund Treasures, which actually indicates it's quite a varied meta, which is really quite good. And the second most used one is Orzhov Midrange, and you can go through all this all the way down. This is actually page 1, then you've got all the way down to tier 3 and rogue decks, which are like 0.03 of the meta, but sometimes you can go in here and find something pretty cool. The other useful thing about this is it actually gives you a price. So if you are looking to buy for tickets or something, let's say go to Esper Control, click on this random one here, this will tell you it's $439 to buy, just by the card prices that are online. I'm not entirely sure where they get their prices from, but it's pretty accurate. Or 367.1 tickets, which is really useful. But let's just say I look down, I want to find a slightly cheaper Standard deck to start with, so Mono Green looks pretty good. Let's go to Mono Green, and you can go down. Here's one that came first, and it costs $167, so that's 141 tickets. There you go, full sideboard, full everything. So in the card search list back on the MTGO client, you can go in, make sure you hit the slider back down to 0, and then type all of these in as a deck list. See if you have any. If you don't know any of these cards, then all you do is wipe your current wish list and import all of this into the wish list, and then you just go through all the various traders, and something like Standard, they will always have all the cards. Well, not always, but all the big traders anyway should have most of the cards in Standard at that point, so should be pretty easy to do it. So yeah, that's just a quick rundown on how to use Wishlist and build decks on MTGO on the extremely outdated client. Please, Wizards, you need to revamp this whole thing. I feel like it's been like this forever, and you do make a lot of money, so I'm pretty sure you could revamp the whole thing. But I do still like it a lot better than the Arena, because yeah, it's just got all these things. Look, you can do all the preliminary tournaments on it. There's just so much choice, because it is the card game online. That's what it is. It just lacks the finesse that something like the Arena has, which can definitely get a lot of newer players into the game though. So anyway, I'm rambling on. That's the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and a subscribe. That would be a big help to me, really helps the channel out, and I hope you have a great day, guys. Peace.